episode of Trucks Talks, guys. I'm Alli Rian, and I've got a special guest today with me. His name's Camden Warren. Say hi, Camden. Yeah, you.
Hi. Hello. Hola, konnichiwa, aloha,
Nice.
annyeong.
Most original intro we've seen on this show yet, folks.
Hey, gotta have diversity, folks. It's 2020.
So, every episode we ever start in the show always starts off with a quote, which you had read beforehand, correct?
Oh gosh.
I sent you everything.
Yeah, I totally read the quote with my own two eyes that I have right here and here. Hi, Aiden, in the background.
Yeah. We're filmed. Alright. Well, I'm just going to read you the quote that you obviously have already read.
Obviously.
Obviously. Yes. Has not one of the poets said that a noble friend is the best gift, and a noble enemy the next best? C.S. Lewis. What do you think that means to you?
What does it mean to me? Well, I personally appreciate friends, but I also really appreciate having a decent enemy sometimes. Like, you know those people who just, like, sit around just kind of being like, haha. They're not real enemies. They're just people who, like, live terrible, miserable lives that can't help themselves. You know, you gotta have a good enemy. You gotta have a good antagonist for every protagonist. In my story, I'm obviously the protagonist.
Right.
Because it revolves around me. Always. Obviously.
Obviously.
And
obviously.
Through my thorough digestion of this quote that I really, truly, genuinely read many hours ago, I would say that it also means, I don't know, C.S. Lewis is probably trying to point out that in order to develop relationships in your lives, you gotta have wide varieties to learn and to create new people.
Awesome. I feel like you did read that quote, and I'm very confused if you did or not.
I did not. No, I did not.
Okay, well. Good job. Wow.
Impressed. Are the answers not exactly like...
Well, I mean, it takes people a couple of seconds to get into it, so yes, I'm rather impressed. Okay.
Oh, I answered it wrong, didn't I? That's probably why you're freaking out. I answered it wrong.
No, there's no wrong answer on this show. Unless you disagree with me, and then of course it's a wrong answer. I'm kidding.
Gosh, woman.
Gosh. Okay. So that leads us into Myers-Briggs, and since you didn't take the test yet, because they're calling you out right now.
What if I actually did?
I don't believe you.
You don't believe me? Okay.
No.
Yeah, you probably should.
I am, however, going to guess your type anyway, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then in another video, if you want to be on another one, we'll reveal your personality after you actually take the test.
After I take the test,
Yeah.
yes.
So my thought is that you're either an INTJ, which is a mastermind, meaning your cognitive functions are NI, introverted intuition, TE, extroverted thinking, FI, introverted feeling, and SE, extroverted sensing. And so those are all of your cognitive functions. What that practically means is like your driver is how you always learn or how you always take in information. So as you go down the ladder, it's your most developed part of your personality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Subjectively, yes, I understand.
Okay. Or I think you might be an ENTJ, which your driver is TE, NI, SE, and FI. Extroverted thinking, introverted intuition, extroverted sensing, and introverted feeling. Pretty much with those two, they kind of just mix up a couple of the cognitive functions, and you all have the same ones. It just depends on which one is more developed or not.
And what is that one? Does that one have a name? Exactly?
Yes, it's the commander.
The commander. Okay.
I don't know which one you want more based on the names, but I feel like you want the mastermind one more.
Which one boosts my ego higher? Is the question.
I don't know.
No.
INTJs are very intelligent, and yet ENTJs want to take over the world, and in previous conversations, you sound like you want to take over the world.
don't want to say that I'm like intelligent. I've been told I'm decently smart, but I also like to plan things.
Okay.
Like I can have one thing in my mind. I'm always like have multiple things on my mind. That's good for some things, and that's pretty bad for others. Sometimes I can't exactly focus the best, but it means I plan a lot better.
Okay.
Whether I actually get through with those plans is another thing, but
So more of a dreamer than a doer.
um, in some instances, yeah. I in the past I see myself probably getting done things more efficiently than other people, just because my like outlook on life and the ways in which I make decisions.
Okay.
So I would say, in retrospect, looking back, I would say I'm probably in between the two somewhere.
All right. Well, we've got a couple of questions for you, which is going to determine, at least for me, which one you are. These are the E versus I questions, which is kind of the ticker in this whole thing. Do you think you recharge by being with people or being by yourself?
Oh gosh. I would say that oh gosh, this is kind of hard actually. For me, it varies depending on the people I'm with. If I'm with my best friends, like
Okay.
I don't really have one best friend. I have like a group of people who are all equally close to me. I love them. But when I'm with them, then yeah, totally recharging in an instant. If I'm by myself, I'm able to sleep or read a good book or play a good video game, have a good gaming session. Then yeah, or play sports or just be able to run for a
Okay.
long time by myself. Then that's how I recharge.
All right. That actually tells me a lot more about what you are than what you realize. But do you prefer to be a public role or prefer to work behind the scenes?
I would like to be a publicly known figure, but
Okay.
I would not like all of my work to be known.
Interesting.
I know that seems like a fairly shady answer, especially taken out of context.
Yeah.
However, if I'm able to do something great, then I don't want all the credit. No, I want to thank the people who might not think that they deserve credit.
Okay.
I think they probably need more than what they're given in terms of how people look at them after something big happens that I might be the one in front for.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Not that
actually.
anything big would happen to me or that I would be in front, but hypothetically.
Hypothetically, but I think it can happen for you. So it's in your
Yeah.
future.
Like
hmm?
yeah, like just as an example, I just thought of one, like my parkour class,
Mhm.
which we'll probably talk about later in
Yep.
the video. I know you're gonna get to it.
Oh yeah,
But
we're plugging you, man. Don't worry.
No, it's although I'm technically the teacher of the class, and all the parents see me as like the one role model who runs everything.
Mhm.
There are plenty of people who I don't think get enough credit who should, like my parkour teacher, my assistant, the kids themselves who joined and are really, really driven to learn and are much better than I was when I started at their age. They're like ages 6 through 11.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at things. You know, always giving people credit where credit is due.
yeah, humble yourself a little bit.
Mhm.
Doesn't take much.
Do you easily get distracted or do you have good powers of concentration? You kind of answered this already.
When I concentrate on one thing and as much as I can get it done really, really fast and
Okay.
scarily efficiently sometimes. Scarily in terms of like I get almost nothing done efficiently when I have multiple things on my mind. Like everything is kind of getting done slowly,
Okay.
but I've become good at doing that. But if I focus on one thing, like I don't know, like one math grade, then I can get it up 3-letter grades if it's
Okay.
possible. Not that it would be below 3-letter grades. Totally not a real world situation. But
No, of course not, Camden. No, so you normally are a multitasker, but if you really need to, you can put your mind to focusing on just one thing, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
Okay. Do you think out loud or do you keep it in your head to process?
It's too much to say out loud. As fast as I can talk,
Okay.
sometimes it's there's always too much, and some of it I kind of like laugh about in my head because like it'd be maybe offensive or maybe not the best thing to say to someone sometimes, or maybe like I'll be like, oh, this person missed this, and this, or there are holes in their argument, or there are 5 different reasons they're wrong. But I'm not going to say that to them.
Okay.
At least not not when I'm not in private with them. Probably.
Okay. So this is the S versus N question. So, sensing versus intuition. Do you admire practical solutions or do you admire creative solutions?
I admire solutions that are made to be more practical.
Okay.
But they are made from nothing. The reason they are created is to be practical, but what they actually are is just pure creativity. Something new, inventions that people make to make things easier for us.
Okay.
As bad as that might be in the long run, if we like all end up as Wall-E people, for example, if anyone knows what that is. If not, then they're just like all humans have just kind of like become chair monsters. They're just like stuck in their chairs, leaning back. They're all like fat, and their bones have no like cartilage, and they have no muscle.
Yeah, just completely dependent on all of the technology around them.
Yeah, like I don't want that, but creative things that people come up with creatively that are more practical, I really enjoy those.
Okay. Yeah. I see that.
Not just like practical things that people make from like putting this idea and just making it better.
Okay. I like that answer. Great. Do you see things more pragmatically, seeing what is, or inventively, what could be?
There are specific times for each of them, I think.
Okay.
I think when I'm focused in on one person, I can definitely see things about the future, or one thing, object, event, how it could change the future really easily, but I have to kind of change my focus, because generally my focus is almost always on like the what is happening now.
Okay.
I'm a varsity high school debater, so I am always focusing on current world events and then arguing about them with people just like me, except talking really fast. And, yeah.
Nice. Do you ever try to look at debates and the fact that you're debating what this current event could do to the future, or is it just what it's doing now?
Oh, yeah. We have to definitely make decisions. In debate, we have to make hypothetical decisions, or we have to sway the judge in making a decision based on what could hypothetically happen in the future if the judge chose this or this. If the judge chooses to pass this bill or to reject it, what could happen in the future? And so we have to argue about the here and now and what is as we see it, and then convince the judge that, oh, this would be bad for the future, or, oh, we need to have this here for the future, otherwise we're going to go in debt, or people are going to die, or the environment's going to collapse in on itself even though it already is, stuff like that.
Nice. That's cool. Do you live in the here and now or think about future implications? You just answered this pretty much. So
yeah, it's the same, except like living, right? My perspective.
Yeah, I mean, for your life, do you always think about the here and now or what's going to happen in the future? Are you more focused on your future or just being in the moment?
This one's actually pretty easy to answer, I think. The people who are like I've chosen to be like closest friends with, they're kind of like, I'm not going to say that they're completely open-minded, but they have similar mindsets to me in that like they can switch back and forth. But some of them have more open minds to what the world could be, or they're just more open to new ideas. While in high school, I'm generally put with people who are, although smart, like a lot of people who are my age, actually. I'm not going to say anything about my high school. It's great. People who are my age are definitely a little bit more closed-minded and really only think about the present. Don't really have much plans for the future. A lot of people who might be more, like, they might have a little bit more money, might not need to think about the future, for example. That's it on the high end of, like, wealth. On the low end of wealth, then, like, these people are really struggling. They live in the here and now because they can't think about the future. What if their dad gets shot up? Or, like, they're not going to think 10 years in the future when they can't even, like, figure out how to get a meal tomorrow. Right? Because schools have shut down. And so people my age, sadly, some of them have that as their mindset. Okay. And I've met people who have. And so the people I'm surrounded with influence my decision, like, on that greatly, I guess, my perception of the world.
Interesting. Do you think that people should be thinking more about, okay, when they're on the two ends of the of spectrum? There we go. Yes. There's the word. Okay. Do you think people who have money should be thinking more of what they want to do for their future, and the people who are, you know, in poverty, in all of that, do you think that they should both kind of be working towards their purpose in life and passions? Because, I mean, personally, I believe that both of those can help you get out of any kind of situation. I mean, your passion's your passion, and when you go with that, you're successful in any sort of standard. I mean, do you think people should be focused more on the here and now or future applications?
I think you should always focus on your passions. I'm not going to go as far, or I'm not going to agree with you.
Okay.
Like 100% on that, because I do believe that in the real world, lots of people, although they're held back because they don't endorse their passions so freely, I think many who try to can't really be successful, at least in the lower wealth spectrum and poverty circles, or poverty cycles, essentially. They can't really get out of it. It's called the cycle because no one can really get out. Even if they do endorse their passion, they're not always going to be as, like, they're not going to be able to get out of that as easily as anyone else would be able to, even with passion.
I agree with that. Yeah. Nice. Do you trust actual experience or gut instincts?
Do I trust actual experience or gut instincts? I'm a very, like, practical person, a very, like, statistical, logistics person, generally. Like, so if I encounter experiences or someone comes up to me with, like, a presentation on how this works or why this is wrong or why this is right, and it's enough to influence my opinion based on, like, actual facts, which I'm discovering more and more of in the political world and the world of international law, then yeah, it can definitely, like, influence my opinion. I'm probably more of a like, practical person in that sense.
All right.
Emotions are a different thing a little bit. Like, sure, like, on an emotional level, say, like, if you're looking for love or something, like, I mean, my experience with, like, real world, for example, is telling me not to go on The Bachelor ever.
I encourage you not to.
As much as I would like it for a little bit, then my real world experiences is telling me not to. My gut is also telling me not to, but my gut might help me find the right woman or, like, right soulmate.
Okay. So, like, you think that your gut is more for relational purposes than business endeavors and
logistics
political decisions?
Well, yeah, totally.
Okay.
I mean, political decisions could play a role on an emotional level.
That is true. I think emotion should be. It's really weird because I think emotions are logical if they're put in a logical place. I know that sounds weird.
Illogical. You heard it here first, folks.
No, they're not.
Put it on the front page of New York Times. Emotions are illogical.
No,
Alli Rian.
emotions are logical.
I heard illogical.
No.
I mean, I would have to agree with you there. Like, anyone with emotions, got nothing on me, dude. It's holding them back, in my opinion. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go on.
Alright. Alright, this is F versus T. Feelings versus thinking, which I feel like I already know what you are. Do you make decisions based on feelings or logic? We already answered this question, and it's logic for some things, and then feelings for others.
Logic for most things. I'm definitely more of logic.
Okay.
As a debater, I have to debate both sides of one argument. I don't really have feelings for either one, because I have to go back and forth, and that would just destroy any feelings that anyone might have, which is why most debaters like me are just more logical thinkers.
So,
they're all about stuff.
When you go and debate, is there not a part of you that is like, have you ever went and debated something that you felt so strongly about that you really couldn't debate the other side because you felt it was so wrong?
No. I've always been able to debate both sides pretty easily for pretty much any argument. I mean, I'm not going to go as far to say as I'm heartless on some issues, but, like, the stronger argument generally has me pulled to that side.
Okay.
However, I can easily turn anything on its head and, like, spin it around, mix up the wording, or, like, essentially just, like, screw the other argument side over.
You're able to place yourself in the perspective of somebody who feels strongly about that. You're able to see both perspectives.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of that, I'm able to also place myself in an advantage position in the argument.
All right.
Because it's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
You have it too, I've noticed. You're able to,
Do I? I don't know. I think I feel too strongly about the stuff that I debate about. I don't think I would ever debate the other side. I know what I believe, and I, like, put my foot down.
Well, yeah, I've also encountered that side of you.
Oh, yeah.
You put your foot down on some things. You aren't really easily swayed.
No. That's okay. I like that part about myself.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be like that. It's good to have an opinion and stay with it.
Yeah.
I'm like that too, but maybe on less things than you are. But
that's okay. I think you need to be able to see both perspectives when making a decision about what you believe. Another thing, this is why I love C.S. Lewis. I'm always going to talk about C.S. Lewis. But one of the things, I took a class on him, and they were talking about C.S. Lewis's mentality, and they were like, he just always came to the table knowing that somebody's going to be right about something, and he's going to be wrong about something, and vice versa. And you should always understand that someone's going to have something right, and you're going to have something wrong, and you can learn from each other. So
that's why I don't C.S. Lewis, because he's full of self-doubt, folks. I'm just kidding. That's a lie. See, that's self-doubt right there. That mentality, it's good. It keeps you, dude. It keeps you back. You got it. This is all jokingly, but
I know.
mentality where you just push through any wall you have, like without giving any thought to the other side, is what makes a lot of the great things in this world.
Okay. Do you take many things personally or few things personally? So are you somebody who takes a lot of like if you were to get like critiqued, do you take it personally or do you just see it as constructive criticism?
Almost everything is just not personal to me. Like, unless it's coming from someone close to me who's like genuinely being truthful in a sense that they can like help me do something like that, then yeah, I take that to heart.
Okay.
And that's why I surround myself with people who are able to state their opinion like that.
Nice.
No, I'm not always going to change something, but I'm definitely always willing and happy to listen to them.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, when you're put in that position, do you become defensive or do you just kind of like sit back and just kind of listen and then like just either slowly change or just kind of let that person know that you're not changing? Like, I don't know. Like, for me, like, I will just sit down and just tell someone bluntly, nope, I don't agree, and I'm not gonna do that.
I probably used to be. Before I, like, before I went into like high school debate stuff, or actually
Okay.
before I hit high school, I was probably like that. After high school and after a few years of high school, uh, then I think I've definitely through like becoming more mature. I guess that part of me has just changed. Where in the past I was more defensive, and I think everyone was. Every child
Okay.
is a little bit more defensive of any decision they make. Um, but now I'm just gonna take it and be like, okay, well, thanks. I'm not gonna tell you that you're wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna tell you that I'm not gonna change because I don't. I feel like that's a bit insensitive.
Right.
Uh, however, there's also the times where I just like take the argument and be like, all right, three things wrong with it. One reason I can spin it on its head. Two reasons you would lose the debate if there was a judge here.
Just depends on how much the person ticks
Stuff
you
like
off,
that.
I'm guessing.
Depending on how like I don't know, depending on how weird their argument is, or like,
If you see no logic in it, then you're gonna
oh
tell
yeah,
them
I'm
there's no
gonna
logic.
fire through that thing then.
Okay. Do you appear warm and friendly or cool and reserved when people first meet you?
When people first meet me, I've been told that I'm like more of an open book to when people first meet me. I'm generally, I guess I'm one of the. I'm not gonna say I'm one of the few guys, but at least with the people who are around me, I'm one of the. There are fewer guys who like are more open book, more willing to like be open with the people they meet. So I'm generally pretty honest with the people I meet. I'm willing to be like cool with whatever like situation I'm put in. I can be cool if I need to be, but generally I'd like to be more open to the person I'm meeting.
Okay. There's just, you kind of want to be more relational than just
Yeah,
acquaintance.
I'm definitely someone who prioritizes charisma, and like
Okay.
being an extrovert, being able to interact with people at the get go, and
Okay.
being able to do that kind of relies on honesty levels sometimes.
Yeah.
Unless you're a really good liar, I've gotten pretty good at it, I think. But
Don't like him. Don't tell my viewers to like. I'm kidding. Be a
no,
good
but
role model.
generally, I like to be open. I think
Okay.
it helps develop relationships a lot
Mhm.
faster.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of people are always afraid of being open because they don't want to be judged. So what that tells me is that you're not afraid of being judged by people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's actually something I probably wouldn't have picked up on. Like I wouldn't have like been like, oh, I guess I judge people less. That's really interesting.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out. But how do you feel about that? How about you? What's your take on it? You're asking me all these questions, and I'm like,
You're.
whoa. As much as I'm like, whoa, you gotta be like, okay, let's push it back to you.
Oh, we're gonna push it back on me now. Okay.
How do you feel?
I'm definitely an open book, but it's kind of weird because people kind of have to ask. I'm a book, and you can open me, but you have to ask which page you want to go to. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm a
That
very.
could be taken out of context really badly. But
Oh.
yeah, I don't get you. I get
Yeah.
you. I get you.
I am a very private person. I don't trust a lot of people. It takes a lot for me to trust people. There's a lot of things that people don't know about me. I'm very good at making people feel like they know a lot about me when they know 1% of me. And that's because half of everything in me is like in my head. And so unless somebody asks me about it, I won't bother them because I think, I don't know, I just kind of learned that, for me at least with teenagers, I don't get along with a lot of them. It's like really hard for me to relate to them, and I've kind of been, I guess, ostracized socially for so long in my life that I don't bother people unless I think there's a reason to.
That's because you're homeschooled, so I think that has an effect on it. I
Okay.
was homeschooled too. You know that.
That's
I was
okay.
homeschooled until the 4th grade.
If I'm weird, okay, I'm cool with that. People,
Yeah.
I'll find people in my life who apparently like weird.
Yeah. Okay. I think I think let me give you your social diagnosis right here.
Okay.
I'm not gonna look down at my phone and I have like a whole like dialogue opened up, uh, but I think the part of me, the part of me that like kind of snapped when you
Mhm.
like were talking, or didn't snap, but like realization to your perspective
Mhm.
is when you talked about how you would bother people. The mentality that you have is one that you think you would be bothering people if you respected your opinions enough to voice them, or if you uh, had enough like social confidence
Mhm.
to tell them to people, then you would think that they would be bored by them, or that they would be like get kind of mad, or
Well,
they would get your opinion. I think
it's
that's
actually
something.
like I think you're right. But it's actually more about my presence than my opinion. I have no problem standing in front of people and telling them what I think. I've had a very long history of having very narcissistic best friends, and guys are just a whole other story, which we're not gonna get into that today, folks, because it's about Camden today. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's all about me,
and he loves it.
as it always is, as it always is.
But yeah, I definitely do feel like I'm bothering people, but it's just kind of with my presence. Um, I don't know. People
Interesting.
don't. A lot of the people that I was friends with did not like deep conversations or getting to know people. They just wanted to do stuff,
Yeah,
and
well, that's
I'm not.
because
I'm not the type of person.
you grew up homeschool. I think that that's a mentality that I used to have. I didn't
Yeah.
really voice my opinions very much until I got like halfway through middle school,
Mhm.
I guess.
No,
Uh,
I didn't start voicing my opinions until I got like, because like my social interaction was always at youth group, and if you don't know what that is, it's a small group for teenagers at a church. And I saw something like really wrong with my church, so I started making a lot of arguments with my youth leaders. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea, but that's when I started getting very open with my opinion, and then I started a blog. So
have you ever like I know we're going off on a tangent here, but
that's
have you
okay. This
ever
is what
like
that show. This is what the show's
have
about.
you ever like been in front of like everyone in front of your youth group and you just started questioning everything you were hearing? Yeah.
That was every time they ever handed me the mic. I don't know why they kept doing it.
You were like asking questions like, Pastor, why?
Yeah,
Why did this happen?
like
Uh,
I like not even. This wasn't in front of the whole youth group. We used to have like small groups. There was like 5 or 6 girls, in the small group, and I was like really ticked because I thought that guys and girls should have been the small groups. Like the guys and girls in our youth group didn't talk to each other at all because they always segregated them, and it ticks
social.
me off because I don't think that should be happening. I think guys and girls should be able to talk to each other. Like it it was crazy because there was one time where I said hi to him,
Oh yeah,
and
you told me about your like dances experience, like the homeschool dance experiences you've had.
yeah, no, all of the other guys were on the other side of the room, and all the other girls were on the other side of the room. And my brother, who was at the dance, was the only guy who ever asked a girl to dance at that dance. And it's just, there's no reason for it. We're people, for crying out loud. Talk to each other.
Man, I went to a church dance once.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly religious. Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
extremely religious. I'm open to anything. I'm like a learner. I'm dedicated to learning more about anything.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not extremely religious, but I know my fair share about some religions, mostly Christianity, because that's what I grew up with. But I went to a church dance once, because my friend invited me,
Mm-hmm.
and it like completely turned the tables on like all the middle school dances I had gone to. I was like that night like boosted my ego like 20 fold.
Was it
I
because
got asked
nobody
by
could?
like 3 girls to dance. It was crazy, and I then learned after that it was like shameful for girls not to ask guys. So it's like very different than what I was used to, I guess.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
all the guys and girls were on different sides of the room, but like their church had grown up being like the girls have to like not only like cook, marry. I think it was a Mormon. It might have been
Oh, well, that's kind of different.
maybe it was. I think it. think it was a Mormon thing, but or there at least there were a lot of Mormon denominational people from those churches there, even though it was like technically like a Christian thing. Like they're all done separate denominations, but Mormons. Sorry, Latter-day Jesus Christ. Then like I don't know, it was really interesting. I guess.
Oh yeah, no, I think churches are.
Have trouble finding a dance partner.
That's
Sorry,
nice.
But I'm open to like anything, I guess.
Okay.
In terms of opinions as well.
Okay.
Like your opinion, I think you should voice your opinion all the time. I'm just that kind of person, because I'm not the kind of person who's gonna ask 24/7.
Oh, I thought you said you shouldn't. I was like, wait, that's no. You said should. Okay.
You should.
Oh, huh. I don't think you want me to do that because I won't shut up.
That's all right. No one can shut up back him. You know.
Get off.
That's
Oh,
God.
crap,
What am I doing?
I do not want this to die. Please don't die. Where is the charger? Crap. Where is the charger? Will it work?
About to shut down.
My other phone is about to shut down that is recording our audio. So. And she's still out here. Is he still out here? I'll be right back in like 2 seconds.
We can edit this out. You know.
Oh, I know, and I'm going to. It's just, it's dying. This is at 15%. I'll be right back. Yeah. Can you grab my charger cord from inside the house and the charger from the car? Because my phone is charged. I'm so done with technical difficulties.
And we've had our fair share.
Oh yeah, I'm just glad it's working right now. Okay. Do you like to keep your options open or like to have things settled, kind of schedule-wise?
Alexa, stop. Alexa, pause. Okay, sorry. Let's resume.
That's okay.
Alright.
Alright.
I think one of your lights died. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Right,
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you like to keep your options open or like to have things settled?
Options open, generally.
Okay. Do you question the need for many rules or see the need for most rules?
Question the need for many. Because
Yeah.
I can see arguments for both sides to almost anything, so generally I'm questioning a lot of things, whether it's rules or like general guidelines or perspectives that people or things might have.
Okay. We're down to our 2 last questions for the Myers-Briggs that have taken apparently 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
Do you like
We got
to...
some deep conversation out of this.
I know, right? This is probably the most...
I've learned so much about you and myself through you.
Right, yeah. They're just getting so much information, they're not going to know what to do with themselves. Do you like to keep plans flexible or like to make and stick with the plans? I already know that answer for you.
Oh, yeah. Plans flexible.
Oh, yeah.
Plans.
Yeah. Olive Garden
if
Day.
I'm planning a surprise date for someone, like if I'm planning a date, then like I'll have multiple options. We can choose one, stick to that. Unless like you're the type of person who wants to go off on a tangent or something. But some things have to be planned in order to go like.
Well, yeah.
In order to have the best effect, then like sometimes you gotta have a plan.
You kind of got it. Plan to be spontaneous.
Plan to be spontaneous. Yes. That's good.
I just coined a new phrase, guys. We'll have that on a shirt somewhere. All right.
Merch coming soon. Merch coming soon.
Merch
Check the
coming
link in
soon.
the description, y'all.
All right.
Merch soon.
And
Surprise merch.
do you consider yourself someone who's very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, kind of wild child or more? I know I'm like rephrasing because I wrote it wrong. on the paper, and I shouldn't have. Do you think you consider yourself more spontaneous or more structured?
Well, the problem is you have a paper. Like, you gotta be spontaneous about it. But to answer your question, I think I'm definitely more of a spontaneous person generally.
Okay.
Like, I do a lot of things on a tangent. I just like to be creative all of a sudden. Like, if I need to get things done, then yeah, I'll get that one thing done and like focus on it, get it done. But generally, I like to keep my options open to any possibility.
Okay. Scenario.
And then
would you ever throw a dart at a map and then go to wherever that dart landed on?
yeah, totally.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I was wrong
well,
about your personality type.
If I'm by myself, that seems like a really lonely thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can just make up anywhere. There'd be no one to fact check me, or like no one I'd be able to travel with. But if hypothetically in this situation I'd have someone to travel with, then yeah, totally.
Okay. Well, I was wrong about your personality type, I think. I think you're an ENTP.
ENTP?
Yes.
What's it?
Crap. See, like, I don't remember the names that well, because I just remember the letter combination. But
I think you might be getting a mixed message, but I think, like, in terms of, like, spontaneousness,
mm-hmm.
the things I do come up with, like, each thing that I do spontaneously, I do it really methodically. And it's not without thought at all. It's just that I'm thinking of so many different things at once that I'm able to really just make five-step plans. Each of them might seem spontaneous. It might seem spontaneous. It is spontaneous if we go off on a tangent, but that tangent is somewhere that I, like, foresaw.
Okay, so you thought of all the consequences. You thought of, like, what could happen. It was like, okay, we're doing this within this time span
Almost
of 5 seconds.
Every possibility, every tangent I go on, I always, like, try to foresee the consequences of the future or what's going to happen at the end of the road.
ENTJ or ENTP is my guess. I can't really tell because you're like planned but spontaneous, but planned but spontaneous, and I don't know.
meticulously spontaneous, I would say. Meticulously spontaneous.
You might split the P and J, which is very much of a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. What are the P and J standing for?
Perceiving versus judging. So spontaneity versus planned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
I'm
you are
really,
obviously both.
I'm not really a judging person at all.
It's not saying that you judge people, it's that you judge situations to see what is the most logical plan of action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.